And so Di is land and Dao is Dao, the one. And so Di Dao literally means land Dao. So what it means in its essence is it's the original place of the herbs, right? So Di Dao is the concept of growing herbs from their spiritual homeland, their preferred place to be growing. And it was laid down by Shen Nong, where you source herbs Di Dao. And then you have many other herbalists also giving their 2 cents. And you see in the ancient texts of herbalism correlations between for Reishi, this province, for Shaga, this province. Shaga is a little bit, not as much in the pharmacopoeia, and so you don't see it referred to as much, but for Eucomia, for Hishuwu, for Astragalus, for Shazandra, for ginseng, there's these correlations of where to grow them in the sense that spiritually, that herb, the energetics of that herb, and the archetype of that herb wishes to grow here for Shazandra, Changbai Mountain, that province, in order for the maximum energetics, personality, nutrient density, literal capacity for that herb to tone your Jing, Qi, Shen, your essence, your vitality, your spirit, which is the intention of tonic herbalism, the longevity of those aspects of ourselves for us and our families. The atmospheric energy and pressure and altitude in which those herbs want to grow, like to grow, and where to grow it to get the most potency, as well as where it is needing to grow to pull in as much cosmic data, stardust, so that it can pass over those patterns long term to our metabolic rhythm and the way that qi moves through our meridians. These are all things that are not just like a little la-di-da side note in tonic herbalism. This is within the rich tapestry, within the foundations, these considerations, which you see that been absolutely washed out in the 50s as TCM starts to get more commodified. And now you see the resurgence of this type of herbalism, this type of tonic herbalism. And so Di Dao has been over the years researched by modern sciences at the same time, where they will take reishi from different places and they will find this is where it has been requested to grow Di Dao, and these are the techniques, and those techniques have been built upon over time, how you are going to grow that herb to ensure that it has the maximum potency. And so again, keeping it as close to nature as possible. So you're either foraging it wild, that's really true Di Dao from the Gyan Shazandra from Changbai Mountain, that's on Di Dao wild herb. But then if you need to be farming it, which happens around 600, 700, 800 years ago, you start really seeing the emergence of the industry of wild crafting, semi-wild crafting, a place for these herbs to grow in a way that you are going to be able to make enough for the people. So what happened like those many hundreds of years ago, 600, 800 years ago, is you start seeing the people through China really pushing for them to have access to these herbs and for them not just to be held by that caste, that upper caste, the emperor, the emperor's concubines, emperor's family, emperor's court, high society. The herbs were generally kept and stored because they were rare for those folks. And then you see that push all those 100 years ago, the people really getting access to those herbs and then developing practices for farming them in a way that they are dripping in their spiritual intention and their potency in the body. And that's one of the reasons I source here, because here they get it. They get it. That's like when I met Ron Teagarden years ago, 5 years ago, he's like one of my mentors and brought tonic herbalism to the West. I met him over in LA and I was talking to him about the fact that I've got this company, it's starting to grow, and I really want to keep on sourcing from these deep, rich places within China. There's like general advice or worry here and there that maybe I should just get like US organic, or maybe I should be getting more controlled facilities. And I wasn't ever going to do it. I was just wanting his advice, his 2 cents. What would you do? And he was like, you get it. You get it. He's like, there with these Chinese tonic herbs and with these particular medicinal mushrooms, there in China, they have roots. They have their roots, their ancestral roots within this herbalism. They revere it. They hold sacred that flame. And the flame has been held kind of somewhat, dwindling. It's just had to be like really kind of kept hidden so it stays alive. And now it's really resurging. And he was like, you get it. You keep on going hard on that. And he really bolstered me on it. And so that was really a defining moment for me. And I did go hard because I was like, there's something about it. There's something about getting the Hishuwu, Astragalus, reishi grown in particular ways, in particular places, that when I tried other types when I tried medicinal mushrooms sourced. And let's go back a little bit before I go into that. Farming techniques, it needed to happen because the wild harvesting wasn't enough to satiate the demand for, say, something like reishi, even back then. And so you need to develop techniques to help create more of a crop while the understanding being present. You see, the understanding and the mindset isn't about let's make as much money as possible. The mindset is let's create herbs with maximum energetic potency for the people that want them, but let's not lose the essence. And that's the way I like to still farm herbs. I don't want to go too far into this conversation, but you see this correlation between growing mushrooms in this sense, in this way, DAO, and all those techniques have developed over those hundreds of years and are still developing. How do we keep this as close to the wild as possible so that you get maximum energetic, maximum adaptogenic potency while still satiating the demand? And it's a very hard process to go DAO. Now, someone who's sourcing in that way, say like Ron Teagarden and what I aspire to do, the intention is that kind of that lineage of that practitioner that is well-rounded and has that tonic herbal philosophy in his veins and is making decisions from like earth first and then herbs first, making sure that you're interacting with the spirit and the personality of those herbs. I remember when I first sampled herbs that were like the ultimate DAO, I felt it. I can feel the energetics in my body. I could feel the spirit in my body. And I went, that's the one. I'd tried organic grain grown in the US. I've since tried organic grown in Australia on grain. I've tried herbs grown in labs on wood still, but away from wild environments. So not only are they not DAO, but they're not getting access to the elements. They're not getting access to the weather. So they just aren't as potent. So basically I tried them and I was just like, man, it makes so much sense to be going for something like easy and lab grown and like on grain at the time. Like I immediately knew that was not the way to go. And I still just think it's such a ridiculous way. And it's going to click for people at some point that you are feeding that mushroom something in which it isn't its natural diet. You are feeding it rice, oats, and you are going to be getting false markers of beta-glucans. People might go, have this medicinal mushroom, it's got 30% polysaccharides, and that's what's amazing for your immune system. But it was maybe grown on grain. And what type of polysaccharide? Majority of that 30% or an element of that 30% is going to be made up from the starch within that growing medium. It's not going to actually be the beta-glucans that the mushroom develops through living off that type of food, wood that it enjoys growing on. So I really do not agree with that style of sourcing. It's emerging. I'm going to keep on hitting it.